Government drama llama ding dong talking about the payment system. On today's episode of things they're trying to get to fly under the radar without you noticing, this executive order. From the title alone, it's kind of a red flag because if they're saying that they're modernizing something that already exists, probably something there. Under the purpose, quote, the continued use of paper-based payments by the federal government, including checks and money orders flowing in and out of the United States General Fund, which may be thought of as America's bank account, imposes unnecessary costs, delays, and risks of fraud, lost payments, theft, and inefficiencies. They quote that, we may need to bring in Bob for this one. One of the things that's been available on the U.S. Treasury website is this handy-dandy thing that shows you what things to look for on U.S. Treasury checks. The use of paper checks in general has gone down across the board prior to 2025, so this isn't modernizing anything. Even about 6 years ago, my state was already decreasing the number of paper checks that they were having go back and forth. They were working on having electronic transactions. Even this article from 2023 talks about how the Treasury was trying to get rid of paper check payments. Quote, since 1999, the Debt Collection Improvement Act mandated all payments that the government makes, excluding tax payments, be delivered electronically unless waived by the Treasury Secretary. The law, colloquially referred to as EFT 99, was implemented as part of a broader push in the 1990s to reduce government costs. Even when it comes to those waivers, quote, the document set to publish January 10th proposes new rules that would harden the electronic funds transfer requirements by limiting existing waivers or requiring agencies to get approval from the Bureau before invoking them. So if we go back to this nonsense of an executive order, Section 3 states that they're trying to get rid of issuing paper checks except as specified in Section 4. This is basically unnecessary because this is something that, again, has been in progress. What are the exceptions in Section 4? Individuals who don't have access to banking service or electronic payment systems, which was already in place. Certain emergency payments, national security, other circumstances as determined by the Secretary of Treasury. It's kind of vague. Section 5, though, is about the implementation and compliance of these electronic transactions. But the last one, D, the Secretary of the Treasury and heads of agencies shall take all necessary steps to protect classified information and systems, as well as personally identifiable information and tax return information through the implementation of this order. Section 6 is wanting a compliance plan within 90 days, and then the Secretary of Treasury is supposed to get a whole implementation report within 180 days. And then in Section 7, it says, nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect, and the one I find kind of interesting, 2. The functions of the Director of Office of Management and Budget related to budgetary administration or legislative proposals. 7I is also vague, the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof. I think we all know what that's supposed to be referring to. The use of paper checks has been on the decline by the federal government for a long time, way long before this administration. Make no mistake, the people that will be hurt the worst are those receiving paper checks by like Social Security or disability or other means because oftentimes they don't have access to a bank account. This is also kind of a sneaky way to try and get rid of oversight on the payment system. We've seen the DOGE go in and rescind payments electronically, so we know that it's not outside the scope of what they're willing to do. Much like everything else, this isn't about efficiency, this isn't about making things better, this is about control and getting rid of transparency.